Welcome to the Word Weaver podcast, a literary place in cyberspace where I share tangible tips, tricks, and words of wisdom to help you achieve your dream of writing a book. I'm your host, Louise Johnson, a writer and the author of Behind the Red Door. Let's dive into today's chapter. All right, welcome back to the Word Weaver podcast. I am so excited to have our guest today. It is Colby Sharma. He's the author of The Curveball. Everybody see the cover so you can go pick it up. It is a story of grit, adversity, and winning the game of life. Colby, welcome to the Word Weaver.
Louise, thank you so much for this tremendous opportunity to share this time with you and your audience. I really appreciate it.
I'm so excited to talk to you about this book. I whipped through it. It is amazing. It's chock full of so many life lessons. And I love how you use kind of the metaphor. It's not really a metaphor, but the story of baseball to bring it to life and really make it hit home. Pun not intended. But what I love is that every writer's journey to publication is so unique. So I'd love to hear from you in your own words, kind of how you went from law school to published author.
You know, I wrote the book when I was the first year law student. I came home for the summer and I was just bit with this urge to write a book of some form, of some sort. And, you know, one of the things I'd like to share with the audience is the importance of mentorship. You know, I've been very blessed to have grown up in a home surrounded by books. And, you know, my father is a writer, is an author, is a speaker himself. And I saw that as an example. And we would have so many discussions about, you know, books and philosophy, and to see his example and how he approached the craft of writing really was tremendous for me in the publication of the book and just the iterations going forward.
Yeah.
But the most important thing was that the journey was my own, deeply my own. You know, I not only love baseball, and I really wanted to find a way to mix sports with meaningful life lessons, because sports is a true bonding power in society, whether it's hockey in Canada, whether it's cricket in India, whether it's soccer around the world. We can all take something from sports, in the good times and the bad. But, you know, I had a learning disability when I was a teenager that I overcame to go to law school. And, you know, I recount that story in the book when the main character is faced with, he was being bullied and he's faced challenges and he's learned to relearn again. And that was me. What's most personal is also what's most universal. So I knew if I put that in the book, and that would make the curveball message so much more relatable.
I love that. Well, so you mentioned that the main character, Bryce Holloway, is it sort of autobiographical in a sense? You mentioned it, you took lessons from your own life, and Bryce's character really kind of embodies that. And was the act of writing cathartic for you? Like, how did you find that process embodying this character?
It was totally cathartic, totally cathartic. It was hard because I had to go so many years into my past. I mean, I had the learning disability in 06, 07, and we're talking almost quite a number of years on from that. So it was cathartic, but it was the best work I could possibly do. And it was hard. You know, anyone that's written a book, and congratulations on your success with
Thank you.
Behind the Red Door.
It's not easy. We can relate to each other on that front for sure.
It's absolutely not. You're trying to find your footing and whether the language makes sense and does the characterization make sense. And, you know, when I was writing the book, so many people said, I don't think it's a good idea to have so many flashbacks in the book. I said, well, you know, with great respect, I think it would be an intriguing, you know, literary technique to have the present moment and flashback to the past and the past glory days. You know, the second thing is I wanted to give Bryce Holloway a sense of duality. You know, we have so many dualities as human beings. We have the heroic self, we have the egoic self, and that goes back to Sigmund Freud. But I wanted to find a way to break him down, to build him back up again as we see to end the book.
Yeah, and you did that beautifully. That's such a nice way to say it. And I like what you said too. I think that's something for new upcoming writers to kind of take note of, is how you said somebody, maybe it was an editor, suggested you shouldn't write the flashbacks. And it's so hard as a new debut author you want to listen to the experts, you want to listen to the professionals, and to have that kind of gut instinct of, no, I think this is how the book should be written. This will really provide. So I commend you for kind of sticking to your guns and keeping, because it's really hard. You want to give in to the experts, but the book, I think, really shines with some of those flashbacks.
Thank you. I really, really appreciate that. I mean, it was experts. There was actually some family members as well.
Right.
So to block that out is so hard in this day and age where we're getting so much stuff on socials and you're getting so much feedback. It's hard to turn off the noise.
Yeah, it really is. Well, you mentioned your family a few times, and the book is dedicated to your family. And your dad, Robin Sharma, wrote a beautiful foreword in this book. How important has their impact been in your writing career? Like, kind of what are some of the lessons maybe you could share with us that they have taught you that you have included in the book or used throughout your life? And I'm sure they're so proud to kind of finally hold this as you are in your hands, in their hands.
They were just over the moon. I pinch myself. I'm like, it's really happened. When October 13th hit, it was like before October 13th, 2020 and after October 13th, 2020.
Yeah.
My father's influence is beyond invaluable. What he's taught me about not only writing, but how to live a life of impact and meaning. And, it just so happens that, words are great ways to shape profound messages that, we see that especially in this fiction realm, it's such a subtle way. So I took a lot of his examples on leadership and how to live a life of service and how to help so many people. And I really wanted to find a way to do that in the Curveball, because we were faced with, and we're still faced with, this curveball of a pandemic. And how can I help people become their best selves in this most trying of times? How can I relate my experiences of what I went through and my own adversities to someone who might be struggling right now?
Yeah.
So I took those lessons as a signpost going forward, and how do I want to live my career as a writer and as a speaker.
Yeah, and you're doing a great job. And I love that you're forging your own path as your own writer, your own speaker. You're doing a great job. You're kind of separating from your family, but they are cheering you on every step of the way, which is amazing.
But
Yeah.
Just to add to that, I had a beta group of family members and friends. I said, give me your unsolicited feedback on the manuscript at various stages.
Always
so I think
scary.
Totally scary. That's very important for me. And for your audience, that's a great way to get third-party insights.
Yes.
Especially as in your publication.
Yeah, great tip. Yeah, to have beta readers, because you're too close to the material. So you need other people, and even kind of acquaintances or friends of friends who might not know you, if you can find them. It's hard to find beta readers, but it's so important, because we'll always view our own books and our own work in a very different way.
Exactly. But it's becoming easier. I mean, there's a Facebook group called Canada Reads by CBC Books.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many resources that your audience, if they have that inkling, they can go on and join that.
Yeah, that's a great recommendation, actually. I should probably put something like that together, because there's just so many resources out there, but if you don't know about them, it's hard to take advantage.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So for the Curveball, I'm very curious to know, did you have the idea for the story, the character of Bryce, how you're going to embed the lessons with kind of a backdrop of a baseball story right from the get-go? Or did that kind of come naturally as the writing progressed? And also, a second part to that question is, do ideas for books now come easily to you for your future books?
Those are all great questions. Bryce's original name was Greg Clark. And someone that's the most old-fashioned name I've ever heard.
Sounds like a baseball player, though.
Yeah, kind of, or his coach or his granddad. Yeah. But Bryce Harper is a real-life player. So I wanted to find some inspiration in the present day.
Mhm.
So to go to the first question, I'd say I had the inkling
Mhm.
that I did want to have a baseball as a backdrop to shape the analogy of the curveball. And it was actually called the curveball when I put the first draft together almost 5.5 years ago.
Such a
So
great name. I love it sticks with you.
thank you.
Yeah.
So I did have that inkling, but then it was just refined over time. Pieces were added. I had to shape different um, shape different settings, the different backdrops, where he went, who he encountered, and this was all done. When I was still at school, when I was still a law student. Yeah, so I had some support, and I was going through it. I was thinking of ideas, and then so many years later, I had the PDF on my laptop, and I'm like, okay, now let's go to work. We're faced with this unprecedented global moment. How can I use the best of my time to just edit, to refine, edit, refine? And the practice and process is never done. When it goes live on Amazon or it's an Indigo, there's always constant iteration. I remember even when the book was published, I still edited the manuscript. I still took things out. I still refined it. I still went back to it. So it was just a continuous process.
It's so true. Yeah, the work is really never done. And you'll never feel as the writer and owner of it that it's fully complete. There's always more you can do. But I'm happy for the sake of readers everywhere that you let go. It's out in the world and everyone can go buy it and read your wisdom now. So thank you for that. And I like also that you touch on the hard work. It's a lot. It's not just sitting down, the words pour from you easily and boom, your book is in Indigo. There's years of refining back and forth.
I was really inspired by Margaret Atwood, what she said: fail better each and every draft you do, because failure is a path to growth, and adversity we face does contain seeds of our greatest opportunity. And that's the theme in the curveball, and then that's a theme in writing, and that's a theme in whatever professional field anyone goes through.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good quote. Well, for me, one of my favorite, there's so many lessons, but one that really stuck with me is the way you talk about fear and using fear as fuel, because fear is something we all face: fear of failure, fear of the unknown, and it really hinders us from trying anything new or accomplishing big goals. So I love that you say you turn fear into fuel to accomplish your big goals. So that was one of my favorite. Is there one, or maybe there's a few big lessons from the curveball like that you really want readers to take away or remember? I mean, they have to read it to get it all, but if there's any that come to mind.
Adversity loves your ego. Found at page 23 of the book.
Ooh, yeah.
Adversity loves your ego. Because that comes from Freud. There's the tension between the heroic self and the egoic self. And what I mean by adversity loves your ego is because your ego wants you to feel small. It wants you to feel stuck in that moment. And then everything is going well. You don't need to further enhance your growth. You don't need to approach challenges incrementally. You don't need to seek out mentorship. You're doing amazing, even though when the actual results speak otherwise. So it's that duality, and it's that egoic part of the brain that leads to self-sabotage. And if you look at people in society that struggle with substance use disorders, that is, the ego is manifested greatly because it keeps you saying, I'm okay, I don't need to change my behaviors, I don't need to change my beliefs, I don't need to change how I approach things.
Yeah, it's trying to keep you safe, but it's hindering you in the process. Yeah,
absolutely.
That's so true. So for this book, you mentioned kind of you had the idea and you started writing it while you were in school. And then really once this global pandemic hit, you're like, I need to get it out in the world. It can't just stay a PDF. What was the best part of bringing the curveball into the world, finally seeing it on shelf? And what was the most surprising or challenging part of the whole publication process for you? Basically, like the best and the worst.
Well, the best part was getting the cover art done.
Oh,
I,
yeah.
I was very, very lucky to have a guy that on the first go got the cover exactly how I envisioned it.
Yeah.
Like I was very, very thankful for that. I'd say the second part is um, dealing with getting a publisher, dealing with putting it on Amazon. How do you navigate Amazon, especially as a self-published author? How do
Mhm.
you approach that? I'd say also added to that is, how do you do the typeface? How do you do how the
The
book looks on
formatting.
the page? Yeah, formatting, kind of the very technical aspects of the work.
Yeah. Oh,
And if
that's
you have
good.
a good editor, they really, really help you a lot with that.
Yeah, because a lot of people, it's nice to hear that you enjoy it. A lot of people
Yeah.
aren't good at that attention to detail, but it's so crucial for a beautiful finished product that people want to read. And then
I guess
what was
that's
the hardest?
what's like, huh?
Sorry, what was the hardest part for you, or the most surprising maybe about publishing a book? Maybe there wasn't
What
anything.
what on earth is typesetting? What does that mean? There's all this new dictionary of words we pick up along the way.
Yeah,
Typesetting, like all that stuff.
it's a whole new education.
Yeah, totally, totally.
Yeah,
And I think one of the things that I'm thankful for my law degree for, among many, is the attention to detail,
yeah.
being detailed in the process and having a very keen eye to things. And it just gets better over time.
Yeah, and not giving up because it is something new. You've never done it before. I've never
Yeah.
done it before. So
Yeah.
it's going to feel like you're kind of trudging through the mud, figuring out typesetting and formatting and everything if you've never done it before.
The other thing about like approaching writing the book is we all might have a sense of imposter syndrome. For myself, it was, dad is a famous writer. How would my career look being his son?
Mhm.
So, especially we do get the sense of imposter syndrome. We might be super intelligent, but we've never written a book. Will people vibe with our words? Will they like the message we're sharing? And it just starts by starting. Like Obama said, we start with hope. We start for hope as to maybe the end product or who we want to help. The curveball means a lot to me because when I had my moment of adversity, my learning disability,
Mhm.
I wanted hope for other kids. I saw myself in them.
Mhm.
And that's what gets me going throughout the process. And it's not only your solid why does lead to your how. And I think that's really important for your audience to take in their own writing journeys.
Yeah. Oh no, so well said. It's so true. And that's the beautiful thing about you sharing your story in a book format because it's something that can be shared and read widely and so many people can take a lot of lessons from this.
Absolutely.
So I would love to know kind of what a day in the life of Colby Sharma as a writer is like these days,
Yeah.
or in general. Do you have any daily habits or rituals that you abide by to make sure that you're living kind of the best life and producing work? I'd love to know how you take your coffee in the morning, all those little things.
So I get up around maybe 6:37,
Yep.
have a double. If I feel like going to Tim Hortons, Americano if I just go to Starbucks, or
Good Canadian boy.
exactly, or Nescafe ready made if it's just in me in my apartment.
Yeah.
Um, I love to travel. This year has been my itch for travel has really come back full force. So whenever I can, and I'm just kind of not doing too much anywhere, just traveling anywhere in Ontario, in Canada. Um, it's busy. It's a really busy day because I'm a speaker as well. So
Right.
it's either getting outreach for speeches, like connecting with folks, a lot of networking. I came back from a trip to Miami and it was a networking conference and everyone's like, your book sounds so interesting. I'm going to purchase it. It's, how can I get it? So it's getting speeches. It's crafting my deck for speeches. It's preparing for speeches.
A
So
lot of work.
that's a lot, takes up a lot of my time.
Oh, yeah. People don't really, I don't even know if they understand the weight and the volume of work it takes to putting a speech together. There's
Yeah.
so much back end stuff that you're always doing. So that's amazing. Are you writing any future books? Or are you kind of just putting like the curveball, the lessons learned into a speaking career for right now?
So I do have the second kind of draft of Curveball 2.
Mm-hmm.
I have a 37-page draft of that I'm just working on it on the side.
Yep.
But right now my full focus is promoting the book, taking it to so many places, speeches.
Networking. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, totally, totally.
Yeah.
And then that's the other thing. Like, so many people think like on the journey to bestseller and having a book that's like, wow, you might be aiming for Margaret Atwood kind of success or J.K. Rowling kind of success. And when we look at how we approach writing and the craft of writing, we need to be inspired by writing. So
Yeah.
even when I was writing the book, I was reading, Stephen King's On Writing. And for your audience, that's a tremendous book to read on how to approach the craft, how he deals with characterization, and just keeps you motivated for learning from literally one of the best to ever do it.
One of my favorite writing craft books. That's so funny you mention it because that was one of my rapid fire questions for you. What's your go-to writing craft book? So you answered that one, which is great. On Writing by Stephen King. Yeah, that's so good.
Totally.
To be a great writer, you have to be a good reader. You have to kind of know the rhythm of words in a sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think
the tremendously ironic thing was I failed my grade 10 grammar exam in high school. Just like, geez, that's ironic.
That is ironic. I love that though. That's one of those, those standardized tests, who needs them? It just goes to show it doesn't really mean anything.
Totally.
Look how far you've come now. Yeah. Well, I think one of the silver linings that have come out of this pandemic has really been how we've just kind of distilled down what matters most to us in life. We've figured that out. It's allowed us to focus. You have published a book within a global pandemic, which is a dream that most people strive to achieve in a lifetime. What for you going forward are some personal and professional goals coming out of this pandemic in the short term and the long term that you hope to achieve?
I want to do in-person speeches. I really want to do in-person speeches. The Zoom speeches, they're good, but not half as impactful. But still trying to navigate it. I want to do 13 speeches a month, so I really want to really accelerate the speeches. That's going well so far.
Amazing.
I want to go to places I've never been, just travel-wise.
Yep.
Yeah.
I could see you doing a TED Talk or something. You're on the trajectory.
Thank you.
That's so awesome. Well, this has been great. I have some rapid fire questions for you. And like I said earlier, if we dovetail into more conversation, that's what they're there for. But we'll try to do them fast. So first, your favorite baseball team or player?
New York Yankees, Derek Jeter.
Oh, so you've been watching them?
I have, yeah.
It's
on Tenderloins.
I know. Were you there at the game last night?
No, I wasn't. No.
Okay.
It was at a restaurant though.
Yeah. So favorite place you've ever traveled?
Cayman Islands.
Ooh, why?
I went to school there and I just fell in love with the place.
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah. Dream travel destination you hope to go, but you haven't been yet.
Goa, India, and India in general. I haven't got to India.
Yeah.
I've never been to India. How does that happen?
You've got to go. As the world's starting to open up, that's perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who is your favorite author?
Stephen King.
Good one. Yeah, that's great. Do you have to say your dad too? No.
I love The Monk. I love The Monk Who Sold His Heart, his first one. And, I was 3 years old when that book came out. And, self-published author, it just really, it touches my heart. Like when I reflect on that and
Yeah. And it's built in, it's family. What is the best book you've ever read or one that you always recommend?
Perennial Seller by Ryan Holiday. So Ryan Holiday is I believe the marketing director of American Eagle. And his book, I love what he said about perennial seller versus a bestseller and how to create that. Joseph, we start with, if you look at the works like Star Wars, if you look at pop fiction, if you look at Harry Potter, there's the hero's journey from Joseph Campbell. And he starts at one page, one spot, very much like Bryce. Bryce meets the mentor,
Yep.
accelerates to success, ego strips away, and he's able to find true success with friends, family, and his colleagues.
Right.
So I love, he uses a lot of pop fiction analogies in the, and what he says on perennial seller versus bestseller, which is one that just sells and sells and sells over time.
I love that. I'm going to have to add that to my list. I'll put it also in the show notes for everyone to purchase as well. So, and you already answered your favorite writing craft book, On Writing by Stephen King.
Pardon?
And I said you already mentioned your favorite writing craft book.
Yep.
On Writing
by Stephen King.
Yep. And then I have two more for you. So what is the best writing advice you have ever received?
Just start.
Yeah.
Just start.
Yeah. It literally is the best advice.
Just start.
Yeah.
You know, and you fail. Embrace the power of failure. Embrace and be real with yourself. Really be real. And if you stay true to the story, but be real as to who you want to target. You know, I love, in Behind the Red Door, Elizabeth Arden's story, and you weave that in your story. And I found that very, very insightful. So, terrific job. But I want to say, stay true to yourself, your principles, your own experiences, and your backstory.
Love that. Honestly, best advice. So true. And then the last one is, what are you most proud of?
Being a published author. I mean, I never thought it would happen until it did. Aww. I mean, so many people said, learning disability, like, you're not going to really do much, like failed, like, the grammar exam, failed so many things. But over time, my resiliency just grew.
Yeah.
The universities really helped shape my opportunities. And I'm very grateful and privileged to be a writer and to connect with great people like yourselves and just to see the messages that people take from the Curveball. It's just been tremendous.
Yeah, well, kudos to you. Honestly, writing a book is one of the hardest things in the entire world. And not just writing it, but getting the cover design, doing the formatting, getting it out into the world is a whole other beast. So you never gave up. You started and you kept going, and that's commendable. So kudos to you.
Yeah, I think, if we want to take works, we can settle for average in the work, but there's so few that can create a truly special read. And I firmly believe the Curveball is one of the books for this moment, out of the several that are out there right now. But this is one of the books for this moment. It is so impactful, it's highly accessible, and I'd highly suggest people get a copy.
100%, I agree. So can you let everyone know where they can purchase the Curveball, connect with you online, hire you, or come hear you speak, all of that good stuff?
For sure. So you can buy the book in ebook, audiobook, and paperback form. Hardcover is going to be, hopefully sometime soon, but that's on Amazon. You can connect with me on social media my Instagram is Colby Sharma Official. The Facebook is the Curveball 426. You can sign up for my mailing list at www.colbysharma.com. And you can connect with me on LinkedIn, Colby Sharma. You can, if you are interested in having me speak to your organization or to you as an individual, you can send me an email and we can kick off the process from there. You can also sign up for my one-on-one coaching program, The Scouting Report, which is available on my website at www.colbysharma.com.
Amazing. And I'll put all of those links for everybody to go to in the show notes. Colby, thank you so much for chatting with me today. This was awesome. I'm so glad we got to connect.
No, Louise, thank you. It's been a true pleasure. I really, really enjoyed it.